The sound of waves crashing against landing craft filled the pre-dawn air. November 8, 1942, marked a turning point in warfare. American soldiers pressed against the sides of their vessels. The Mediterranean stretched endlessly around them. Private Tommy Rodriguez gripped something unusual. The steel tube in his hands looked nothing like traditional weapons. Other soldiers called it strange names. Some compared it to musical instruments. The bazooka earned its nickname from a comedian's horn. Bob Burns had made the original horn famous on radio shows. Nobody imagined his novelty instrument would inspire a tank killer. German officers watched the Allied landings through field glasses. Their confidence seemed unshakable that morning. Panzer tanks dominated every battlefield they entered. The 80 mm guns could destroy targets at incredible distances. Return fire became impossible at such ranges. Allied armor stood no chance against German superiority. Word about American tube weapons reached Berlin quickly. Wehrmacht officers responded with laughter and dismissal. How could shoulder-fired contraptions threaten mighty panzer divisions? Half of Europe had fallen to these unstoppable machines. The laughter would end soon enough. The bazooka's story began far from battlefields. A Massachusetts laboratory held the key to everything. Robert Goddard worked quietly on rocket science. His innovations would revolutionize propulsion technology. World War I had seen Goddard's early attempts. A rocket weapon prototype showed promise. The armistice came days after successful demonstrations. 20 years passed with his work gathering dust. Army files contained forgotten breakthroughs. The world moved toward even greater devastation. German panzers rolled across Russian steppes. American entry seemed inevitable by 1941. Two Army ordnance officers faced a deadly puzzle. Captain Leslie Skinner understood explosive power. Lieutenant Edward Uhl shared his partner's frustration. They had developed shaped charge grenades successfully. Tank armor couldn't withstand their explosive force. The grenades packed tremendous killing power. Infantry couldn't throw them effectively due to weight. The delivery system remained their biggest challenge. Aberdeen Proving Ground provided an unlikely solution. Lieutenant Uhl spotted discarded steel tubing. The diameter matched their grenade perfectly. Why not add rocket propulsion to the design? Days of experimentation followed this breakthrough. Goddard's rocket technology merged with shaped charges. The result appeared elegantly simple to observers. A smooth launch tube could send projectiles accurately. Tank killing capability extended to 200 yards. The combination proved devastatingly effective in testing. May 1942 brought the first demonstration. Observers watched in stunned amazement. Improvised sights made from coat hangers worked perfectly. The crude prototype hit moving targets consistently. Other weapons in trials failed completely. Only the rocket launcher proved capable. General George Marshall witnessed the remarkable demonstration. United States Army Chief of Staff ordered 5,000 units immediately. America finally possessed its tank killer. The official designation seemed unnecessarily complicated. Launcher Rocket 2.36-inch anti-tank M1 sounded military. Soldiers preferred the bazooka nickname instead. Bob Burns's comedic horn had inspired warfare. The resemblance amused everyone who saw it. Combat debut approached rapidly for the new weapon. Men carrying bazookas received virtually no training. Operation Torch represented political compromise and military necessity. President Franklin Roosevelt needed to support Soviet allies. A second front would relieve pressure on Russia. American forces remained largely untested and unprepared. Invading Hitler's fortress Europe seemed impossible. British Prime Minister Winston Churchill offered alternatives. North Africa provided safer options for green troops. Combat experience could be gained gradually. The Axis empire's underbelly appeared vulnerable. Roosevelt accepted Churchill's strategic reasoning. The operation's scope was absolutely staggering. 3 armadas would carry over 100,000 Allied troops. Thousands of miles of contested waters awaited crossing. Casablanca, Oran, and Algiers faced simultaneous assault. History had never seen such amphibious operations. Journalists compared it to expensive watch synchronization. Careful planning characterized every aspect of preparation. The new bazooka carriers lacked proper instruction. Production had been rushed beyond reasonable limits. Comprehensive training programs didn't exist yet. Most soldiers had never seen firing demonstrations. Landing craft approached beaches carrying mysterious weapons. November 8th, pre-dawn darkness concealed the approaching invasion. Many carried weapons they barely understood. The bazooka's limitations became apparent immediately. Untrained troops struggled with early M1 models. Battery-powered firing systems failed frequently in combat. Desert heat and humidity caused constant malfunctions. The M6 rocket's pointed nose deflected off angled armor. Penetration proved disappointing in actual battles. Frontline reports painted grim pictures. Soldiers couldn't report successful tank kills honestly. The weapon seemed inadequate for its intended purpose. German intelligence officers examined captured bazookas carefully. Tunisian desert provided excellent testing opportunities. Initial impressions were distinctly unimpressive to German engineers. American weapons seemed crude by comparison. German engineering standards were much higher. The small 60mm warhead appeared inadequate completely. Panzer tank armor was simply too thick. Wehrmacht technical reports dismissed everything as desperate improvisation. Serious study seemed hardly worth the effort. This contempt would prove absolutely catastrophic later. The Germans made a fatal mistake. American industrial capacity was severely underestimated. Engineering adaptability received no consideration whatsoever. German officers scoffed at bazooka limitations. American ordnance teams addressed every problem systematically. Characteristic speed and determination drove improvements. The unreliable battery system was completely replaced. More robust designs solved firing problems. Deflection-prone pointed warheads underwent complete redesign. Blunt, rounded noses improved penetration dramatically. Low-angled impacts became much more effective. The improved M1A1 launcher paired with M6A1 rockets. This combination penetrated 3.5 inches. 4 inches of armor plate couldn't stop it. German tank side armor became vulnerable. The weapon that seemed laughably inadequate evolved rapidly. Summer 1943 approached with complete transformation. Allied forces prepared for Sicily invasion. The bazooka had undergone revolutionary changes. Better training programs were finally implemented. Rocket production had been streamlined completely. Quality improved dramatically across all components. American infantry learned truly effective tactics. The bazooka was never intended for traditional tank hunting. Its 200-yard maximum range required dangerous proximity. Crews had to get extremely close to targets. Success demanded patience, positioning, and precision. Veteran operators learned to target vulnerable spots. Thin rear armor offered better opportunities. Lower hull panels couldn't withstand direct hits. Narrow vision slots allowed tank crews battlefield visibility. General George Patton understood the weapon's true role. May 1944 brought clear tactical guidance. The bazooka's purpose wasn't offensive tank hunting. Last resort defense against overrunning tanks made sense. Infantry positions could be protected effectively. Range should be held to 30 yards. Such close proximity transformed seemingly hopeless situations. Well-aimed rockets could create death traps. Sicily invasion would provide the ultimate test. Operation Husky launched July 10, 1943. Allied forces faced experienced German units. North African defeats had taught valuable lessons. German commanders positioned reserves strategically. Tiger heavy tanks struck before secure beachheads formed. German confidence in superiority remained unshakable. The Tiger's 8.8-centimeter gun destroyed targets beyond 2,000 yards. Frontal armor was virtually impenetrable to everything. Allied anti-tank weapons proved completely inadequate. Single Tigers could halt entire advances. Enemy vehicles were picked off one by one. Return fire remained safely out of range. German tank commanders didn't expect patient Americans. Sicilian village ruins concealed deadly surprises. Improved M1A1 launchers loaded with M6A1 rockets. The stage was set for confrontations. German confidence in armored superiority would shatter. Small numbers of improved bazookas accompanied forces. Sicilian beaches received properly trained crews. Unlike rushed North African deployment, these soldiers understood capabilities. Limitations were clearly recognized and respected. The men carrying them represented more significance. Democracy's answer to fascist steel was ready. German panzer units rumbled toward landing beaches. Allied invasion required crushing immediately. They had no idea what awaited them. Armored warfare would change fundamentally forever. Wehrmacht officers had mocked American toys. Lethal potential would be demonstrated conclusively. The most feared tanks faced unexpected challenges. First encounters were tentative and experimental. American bazooka teams followed training protocols. German tanks approached within effective range. Engagement results were immediate and shocking. 4 medium German tanks fell victim. Improved American rockets proved deadly in opening days. Sicily campaign provided valuable intelligence gathering, shot placement range estimation, and psychological impact. Both friendly and enemy forces felt effects. The most dramatic demonstration awaited everyone. Sicilian terrain held a special encounter. A Tiger tank, the most feared machine. American soldier with dismissed rocket launcher. The encounter would silence German laughter forever. Hills of Sicily created perfect conditions. Dust clouds announced approaching German armor. American bazooka teams prepared for history. The shot would echo through military records. Wehrmacht ridicule was about to end. Innovation and determination would triumph. Arrogance and established superiority would fail. Improved bazookas had become exactly what creators intended. Ordinary infantry became tank killers. Foot soldiers gained power over mighty machines. What happened next would vindicate American ingenuity. The enemy would create their own versions. Weapons they had once scorned became inspiration. The confrontation would demonstrate fundamental truths. 20th century warfare belonged to adaptable forces. Technological superiority didn't mean biggest guns. Adaptation improvement and innovation speed mattered most. The bazooka's vindication moment had arrived. A new chapter in armored combat began. German tank commanders peered through periscopes. Sicilian landscape appeared safe to them. Armor invulnerability gave them confidence. American soldiers took aim carefully. The weapon would shatter more than steel. Wehrmacht confidence would crack completely. Ingenuity was about to triumph over force. Evolution from laughingstock to tank killer was complete. The moment of truth had finally arrived. Tigers rumbling through Sicilian countryside in July 1943. German engineering prowess was on display. 56 tons of steel and firepower. The feared 88mm gun inspired terror. Frontal invincibility seemed absolutely guaranteed. 8 inches of hardened steel armor. Crews felt completely secure behind protection. Soviet T-34s had been crushed easily. British tanks were demolished in North Africa. No Allied weapon could penetrate frontally. The massive machine ground toward American positions. The driver peered through narrow vision slots. Necessary weakness in impenetrable fortress design. Rectangular openings barely larger than hands. Battlefield navigation required these compromises. Thick glass and assumptions provided protection. No enemy weapon could achieve such precision. Combat ranges made accurate hits impossible. The American soldier waiting proved assumptions wrong. M1A1 bazooka concealment was perfect. The shot that followed became instant legend. Improbable hit sent M6A1 rocket straight through. Driver's vision slot was penetrated completely. Tiger's armor failed at its weakest point. The massive tank lurched to a halt. Unstoppable killing machine suddenly became vulnerable. Crew abandoned their burning vehicle quickly. German officers' dismissed weapon had claimed victory. The Wehrmacht's most feared tank was destroyed. This single engagement transformed military thinking. Bazooka evolved from curiosity to credible threat. Intelligence reports were hastily revised completely. Wehrmacht technical teams began serious analysis. Captured bazookas received respectful study finally. Crude improvisations became effective anti-tank weapons. Psychological impact equaled tactical significance perfectly. German tank crews lost near impunity. American infantry possessed vehicle-destroying capability now. Invincibility that defined operations since 1939 cracked. One successful bazooka shot changed everything. German adaptability was legendary throughout history. Captured bazookas became foundation for response. American threat required serious German attention. German engineers approached analysis with thoroughness. Every aspect of bazooka design underwent scrutiny. Dimensions were measured precisely and carefully. Rocket motor analysis revealed construction secrets. Shaped charge warhead studies identified effectiveness. Every strength and weakness was catalogued. German drawing boards produced tribute and improvement. Raketenpanzer Buchs was quickly nicknamed. Panzer Schreck meant tank terror appropriately. Basic bazooka concept was enlarged significantly. American 60mm warhead was too small. German version employed 83mm rocket power. Dramatically greater penetrating power resulted immediately. The irony was completely inescapable. Ridiculed North African weapon inspired German development. Teacher had been surpassed by student. Monster could penetrate 5 inches of armor. Heaviest Allied tanks faced genuine threats. German soldiers nicknamed their weapon Ofenrohr. The stovepipe produced massive smoke clouds. American bazooka rockets burned inside tubes. Panzer Schreck rockets continued burning afterward. 2 meters of flame created spectacular effects. Serious practical problems affected operators significantly. Backblast was intensely dangerous to crews. Panzer Schreck crews required protective equipment. Medieval knights going into battle. Heavy gloves, protective ponchos, and gas masks. Filters were removed from masks completely. Searing heat and toxic fumes protection. Blast shield was eventually added later. Operating remained hazardous for own crews. Smoke signature was equally problematic always. Every shot created massive position-marking clouds. Giant arrows pointed at crew locations. Allied forces learned to watch carefully. Telltale signs received overwhelming firepower responses. Panzer Schreck teams moved immediately afterward. Annihilation from return fire was likely. These drawbacks were offset by effectiveness. Panzer Schreck was devastatingly effective properly employed. Its 88mm rocket penetrated bazooka-proof armor. Close-quarters European campaign fighting suited it. German infantry gained armor-stopping capability. The weapon entered service in 1943. War's tide was turning against Germany. Too late to prevent African disasters. Sicily defeat was already accomplished fact. It would play crucial defensive roles. Normandy beaches to Berlin streets. Panzer Schreck gave German forces potent tools. Attacking armor paid terrible prices. American intelligence recognized threats quickly. Frontline reports described new capabilities. German weapons exceeded their own bazookas. Psychological warfare aspects troubled planners. Allied tank crew morale was affected. Tactical planning required major adjustments. The response was characteristically American. Immediate equipment improvement efforts began. M9 bazooka introduced in late 1943. Combat experience and captured weapons analysis. Longer barrel improved accuracy significantly. Collapsible design suited paratroopers perfectly. Magneto-ignition system was borrowed directly. German technology influenced American improvements. Technological cross-pollination defined war's stages. Each side studied captured equipment. Best features were incorporated systematically. American innovation inspired German development. Panzer Schreck influenced American improvements. Arms race conducted in laboratories. Wartime industry workshops drove competition. Urban fighting played to Panzer Schreck. European campaign fighting was close quarters. Narrow streets reduced range disadvantages. Devastating power compensated for limitations. Tactical problems from massive signatures. Cumbersome protective equipment was required. Allied tank crews developed healthy respect. Distinctive smoke clouds signaled immediate action. Evasive maneuvers and suppressive fire. Tank commanders worked closely with infantry. Unsupported armor was vulnerable to rockets. Concealed positions threatened exposed vehicles. German rocket weapon effectiveness forced changes. Allied tactics throughout European theater. Tank advances required careful reconnaissance. Better infantry support was absolutely essential. Constant vigilance for anti-tank teams. Armored units operating independently ended. Combined arms tactics acknowledged deadly threats. Infantry-carried rockets changed battlefield dynamics completely. The most significant impact was demonstration. Technological democracy in warfare was proven. American improvisation became weapon families. Infantry anti-tank systems gave foot soldiers power to challenge mightiest battlefield machines. Tank invincibility age was ending. More complex battlefields required balance, mobility protection, and firepower considerations. Increasingly capable infantry weapons were reality. Evolution continued throughout entire war. American forces encountered German Panzer Fausts. Single-shot rocket weapons were effective. Close combat superiority was demonstrated. 82nd Airborne Division captured supplies. Sicily and Normandy provided opportunities. They found them superior to bazookas. Certain missions were better suited. They retained captured Panzer Fausts. Throughout campaign usage continued steadily. Operation Market Garden and Bulge battles. Cross-adoption demonstrated soldier pragmatism. Nationality and manufacturing origin mattered little. Effectiveness when lives were at stake. American paratroopers carrying German Panzer Fausts. German soldiers operating captured American bazookas. Battlefield became testing ground for ideas. Best concepts survived regardless of origins. First bazooka shot in Sicily legacy. Extended far beyond single-tank destruction. Fundamental shift in power balance. Infantry and armor relationship changed. Innovation and determination overcame technological inferiority. German officers' mocked weapon had evolved. Family of systems influenced generations. General Dwight Eisenhower reflected afterward. War's conclusion ranked Bazooka highly. Atomic bomb, Jeep, and C-47 transport. 4 tools of victory enabled triumph. Remarkable recognition for desperate improvisation. Nearly withdrawn due to early failures. Post-war world inherited valuable lessons. Bazooka development and deployment experience. Shoulder-fired anti-tank weapons became cornerstone. Infantry doctrine for armies worldwide. Basic concept remained fundamentally unchanged. Man-portable launcher firing rocket-propelled warheads. Modern weapons like AT-4 systems, Javelin systems continue the tradition. Bazooka's story was more than evolution. Testament to adaptability and ingenuity. American approach to warfare characteristics. Superior German armor faced American creativity. Engineers and soldiers created leveling weapons. Inadequate weapons were improved systematically. Enemy copying enhanced designs learned. Competition improved everything, again systematically. German officers' laughter in desert. North African examination had died. Grim recognition replaced initial contempt. Enemies possessed will and capability. German technical innovation could be matched. Crude American tube weapon evolved. Sophisticated system posed genuine threats. German armor supremacy was threatened. Final irony was weapons contribution. American innovation, German engineering refinement, ultimately contributed to German defeat. Panzerschreck effectiveness arrived too late. War's trajectory couldn't be altered. German forces possessed superior weapons. Industrial capacity and strategic position lacked. American production lines turned out improvements. M20 Super Bazooka was developing. 3.5-inch rocket with greater power. Nation began with virtually nothing. World's most advanced infantry rockets. Transformation was completely accomplished. North African poor showing nearly abandoned. Essential component of Allied victory. Evolution from laughingstock to tank killer. Warfare and life initial failures. Foundation for ultimate success, if will. Learning and improvement remained strong. European battlefield smoke cleared, finally. Bazooka stood as democratic symbol. Ingenuity, triumphant over authoritarian arrogance. German officers dismissing American innovation. Underestimating enemy capabilities was luxury. No army could afford any more. Lesson echoes across time periods. Mockery and contempt were poor substitutes. Respect and preparation were essential. Military leaders tempted to dismiss innovations. Enemy innovations as crude or inadequate. Remember American Bazooka and Tiger story. Tank crew learned too late. Mightiest armor was only strong as its weakest point vulnerability.